No, for me to do this activism work, I have to be absolutely honest in every part about my history. I had a checkup in the hospital because we were never had a hair checkups in my life. I never got my blood out of me or done the x-ray, none that in my life. In North Korea, there's no general health checkup like that. Only thing they showed me in that time was Discovery Channel. The hardest thing that I faced, I had to deal with in South Korea, was discrimination. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video today, I'm going to talk about my experience in South Korea as a North Korean defector. South Korea is one of the largest economies in the world. A lot of you know South Korea of K-pop or eating kimchi. A lot of people that I met here also love Korean food. So it is such a country that a lot of people do hear about and experience a little bit with the culture. My experience in South Korea was vastly different than even Americans when they go to South Korea. As an English teacher or just as a visitor, because I was a North Korean defector going there, as almost, it was kind of refugee, but not really, because South Korea Constitution recognized North Koreans as their citizens. So I was going there as also South Korean citizen, but I wasn't quite not fit their frame or fit their general standard to become a South Korean. America is very unique, right? This is an immigrant country. Everybody who can come here, adopt and respect the values of this country, you can become a citizen and be American. But Korea is a very homogeneous country, like North Korea. Therefore, it's very hard to fit in. That's what I understood. And there's a reason why I came to the US too, why I'm not going back to South Korea. I arrived in South Korea in 2009 from Mongolia. It was April 20th. I remember it is almost like the second birthday for me. That was the day I was born again as a free person for the first time in my life. When I was born in North Korea, I was not a free person, so I almost think of it, second day I was born. And the day that April 20th, the day I arrived in South Korea 2009, I think of it, that's when my age, what age am I in freedom? I don't think of it, my time in North Korea, as a lost time compared to a lot of my defector friends. For instance, if my mother think her life were in North Korea, it was a lost, it was a waste. But for me, I don't think of it that way, but still there's a big difference how my life purpose, everything changed since that day I arrived in South Korea. Going in there, I had so much full of hope and expectation. And it was, I was so glad to go to South Korea from China, because in China, I was, being sold. I was, in a lot of ways, were abused by people because I was North Korean defector. So going to South Korea gave me this hope that, I'm going to see my people. I'm going to my country almost. The longing country that Korea was separated, and now I'm going to find the half of that country back. My mother's mother, she was born in South Korea. So I always heard these stories of Jeju Island and some beautiful parts about South Korea. And I landed in Incheon airport. Until that point, it was pretty amazing. The people we met at the airport, they were agents from the intelligence, came out to take us in a special route, because coming from Mongolia, they gave us this not a fake passport, but I'm sure it was, because I wasn't South Korean citizen at that point. They gave us some passports with our photos but different names. And as soon as we got on the airplane in Mongolia, then they confiscated the passport from us. And when we landed in Incheon, we didn't come out from like everybody's route. They took it in a different like back door. Very special. I think it was like 8 of us or 9 of us together from our team from Mongolia. We landed and then they took us to the back door, and this like South Korean agent coming, they are like really tall, such a good looking. You know, when I was in North Korea looking at South Korean dramas and dreamt or like romanticizing this man speaking beautiful South Korean accent, they were like exact that. They were such a like delicate and soft spoken. Took us to, you know, this bus after the Incheon airport. But on the way, the whole way to going to, all the way to that transportation, that's when I was shocked the most. The floor I saw was like in the airport, so shiny and clean. I was like, I can actually lick that, you know, floor. It was that clean. I went to the restroom in between, and South Korea's like, you know, bathrooms very, you know, it's very nice. They make it very sanitary, and there's like toilet paper that looks so nice, because in toilet paper they had a print of like some flowers and smell really nice. So I literally like store some of it and put it in my pocket. I thought it was like only special people use that kind of fancy toilet paper. And I came out, and then on the way to that bus, I was seeing this like 20 something, these young girls, a bit older than me, my age women, wearing this like really short like mini skirt, like having their phone next to their ears. And I felt like so dirty, almost like really didn't fit there, looking at them like, oh, where are these people? I'm literally arriving from some different kind of planet. But you know, that still gave me still a lot of hope. I didn't feel the intimidation by looking at these moderners, but still, you know, I had some kind of hope inside me that I can be like them someday. I can adopt to be like them. And they put us this special bus. And the first stop they took us wasn't like any other facility. They took us to the health checkup in the hospital, because you know, we were never had the health checkups in my life. I never like got my blood out of me or done the x-ray, none that in my life. In North Korea, there's no like general health checkup like that. So they were taking us and, you know, asking us to pee and taking our blood out and x-ray, literally from the top of your head to the toes. Every part of your body gets screened and make sure that we don't have any disease that's going to spread to South Korean population. I didn't feel like violated to be examined in every way, almost like it did give me a slight feeling. It's like I'm not some kind of a bug or intruder, like you guys have to fear me this much. But I understood, and I also appreciated that they wanted to know that we are healthy or not. Once everything sure that we didn't have carrying any disease or anything like that, they were taking us to the intelligence building, where they had a place where North Korean defectors were sleeping there and then get interrogated. So even though arriving in South Korea, I wasn't like becoming free one day like that. There was a completely very rigid, you know, process to go through to go out to South Korean society. In this interrogation period in the intelligence there, we stayed there for 2 months. So there we were not even able to, of course, have internet. We were not able to have like normal TV. Only thing they showed me in that time was like Discovery Channel. They didn't want us even to watch the news. So only thing they showed was like Discovery Channel. And I loved even watching the Discovery Channel. Anything was great. And for that, just a waiting period. And then at the end of that time, they put us to the separate individual rooms to, you know, then they verify, like, draw your school, draw your like neighborhood, you know, what was the, you know, the youth of that every North Korean students have to remember, who's your teacher's name, who's your neighbor's name, what's your new name, like every single thing, unless you're North Korean, you do not know. So, you know, it was at 15, being in this like completely separate room from my mom. I think the isolation was very hard for me, I think. That got me really got a lot of depression. I was sitting in this room one day, I thought like how if I would go to South Korea, I was going to be free, but I wasn't, and I wasn't even allowed to see my mom. And I was like looking at this, and they because they're trying to prevent all the suicide, making everything not like something edgy or can kill yourself. I was looking there, I was like, I wish like how can I kill myself? How when this is not end? It wasn't that terrible, but the isolation was I think hardest that time. After that hard isolation over, they made sure that I wasn't spy and everything that I said matched my mom's and other people's testimony. Then they said, okay, you're safe. Then they are sending us to some place called the Hanawan, which is like re-education center. We went re-education center from there, and in re-education center they taught us about how the Korean War started by Kim Il-sung, not by Americans or South Koreans. And they told us about the dictatorship, everything that now I know. But back then I wasn't really able to trust them, because like I couldn't just believe like everything I believed in my life was a lie. How do I know what you're telling me now is not a lie? I definitely had a big trust issue at that point. But it wasn't like all of that was fine. Learning about South Korean anthem, learning about how to take a subway, learning about how to go to grocery shopping, all of it was all fine. The hardest thing that I faced, I had to deal with in South Korea was discrimination. South Koreans had this idea of North Korean defectors to be more likely to commit crime, and they weren't able to compete with the South Koreans because we were raised in the communist society, and in communist society we do not encourage competition. But South Korea is a free market democracy. They absolutely value competition, and they thought we were not able to do that. And also they said, oh, there's a big chance for you to be a spy because you are from North Korea after all. And they said like, oh, they are like defectors can lie, or they don't work hard because they were in a country from, again, like communist world, they didn't have to work hard, so they don't work hard, they are not diligent. And so many these stereotypes against us already that like before even I meet someone, instead they try to get to know me as a person. They just like all have these like conceptions of North Korean defectors in their mind already. And that was so tough. Like before even I embarked my journey in freedom, they would say like, oh, you're a failure. Because of all your backgrounds, you will not succeed. So I couldn't have friends. And in that environment I shared before, like I couldn't obviously talk about my trafficking experience because everything about a girl, the virginity matters so much in South Korean society still now. And how can I say like I was raped and I was being sold, and like it was just too unimaginable for them already, me being a defector. So I was really having a hard time to fit in and felt like belong there. And it was so hard like to even get discriminated by your own people. Like a lot of my defector friends who were living like South Korea, going to Canada or UK, told me, I would rather get discriminated by other people than by my own people. It's like a bit more betrayal because your expectation of your people was higher almost, and when they break that, you get hurt way more. So they were left, and I was still in South Korea, hoping they will accept me as who I am. But I didn't see that point was coming to me, and I thought also when I was doing this activism work and when I was writing my book, there was no way for me I could hide my trafficking experience after all, because I had like tons of defectors who escaped with me. They saw me was being with this broker. It's all gonna come out. There's no way I could be pretending like I was some innocent girl in their eyes at all. And I was like, no, for me to do this activism work, I have to be absolutely honest in every part about my history. So therefore, I had to share my rape experience And for me to do that and not being ashamed for what I went through was only getting out of South Korea again. I think South Korea did teach me a lot about hard work, about competition, and about the free market. I still value that lesson I learned, but when it comes to really seeing a human as as it is, they did not teach me that. I mean, in my mind, I do think, even though people say like, oh, America is like the most materialistic country in the world, but in my experience, I think Asia was way more materialistic. I think I met more dreamers in America who actually want to make a difference in the world than people aspire to buy, Louis Vuitton or Chanel bags, unlike the friends I met in South Korea. I mean, I do not want to generalize everything, but South Korea was definitely judging me based on what I have already in a material way, and I didn't have anything. So I wasn't even able to enter a public PC room when I arrived there because I had an accent, and this owner said like, oh, we do not accept foreigners, and I said like, no, I'm not like South Korean citizen, and he said no, you have that accent, you're coming from North Korea, it's not okay. I think I do really hope my fellow defectors who are living in South Korea, there are tons of them than in America. A lot of them having hard time to adjust, and resettlement is a big problem for them. And because of challenges they are facing in South Korea, some actually even try to go back to North Korea and die in the arms of their beloved family members, or they really get lost in South Korea, a lot of them. So I do think it is time for international community to recognize how South Korean, even the current administration, are persecuting North Korean defectors to not practice their freedom of speech. Because I'm in America, guys, I can talk to you anything that I want about any view that I have, but if I were in South Korea right now, I would have been arrested by the authority, because the current administration in South Korea do not want us to criticize Kim Jong-un. So I think there will be so many things to talk about my experience in South Korea, but it was definitely a general summary of, quick recap of my time there. Thank you guys again for your support, and I really appreciate your feedback. Let me know what you want to see in the next videos, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Bye bye.